Welcome to ABC News. My name is Adam Yonan and I'm your host for this week's news. We have a big event happening in Chicago. We're at the Lincoln Park Zoo. We've had a catastrophic incident. A zookeeper that worked at the Lincoln Park Zoo, who has now been fired because of their accident, left the enclosure to the monkey exhibit open. Every single monkey from this exhibit has escaped and has started wreaking havoc over in Chicago. These monkeys have reached all corners of the city, the north, east, west, and south. These monkeys have been wreaking havoc, attacking people, taking over restaurants, hijacking cars, swinging from buildings, throwing bananas at people. These monkeys have just started to take over the city and turning Planet of the Apes into a real life reality. Our next topic will be covering the issues between North Korea and the US. We have seen tensions between the US and North Korea rise as the various missile trials that they've been doing and testing bombs, nuclear weapons, shooting missiles over Japan. We've seen just these escalations rise in their testing and them not listening to the US and other countries when asking them to stop doing this testing. As a result, Joseph Biden will be going over to Pyongyang, North Korea, to have a meeting with Kim Jong-un, the president of North Korea. As a result, if we just have these two leaders meet, nothing will go anywhere. So we need the man from Chicago himself, Dennis Rodman, to be the mediator between these two men. Kim Jong-un has a good relationship with Dennis Rodman, and President Joseph Biden probably does too. He's from the US and Chicago. What is not to love about Dennis Rodman? He's a wild guy. Now to our third topic, which is sports. In the World Cup, we see Qatar, who is hosting the World Cup this year in the Middle East. This is the first World Cup ever held in the Middle East, and Qatar is hosting it. Qatar has never qualified for the World Cup, let alone host it. So nobody knows why they're doing this. Qatar will be facing Ecuador in their first match, which is probably going to be a win for Ecuador. Ecuador won a lot of games in their group stages for the World Cup, and even though they placed fourth, they had some tough competition. So it looks like Ecuador is going to take this one home. But who knows? Maybe Qatar will pull one out of the bag and upset everyone. Now moving on to weather. The weather in Chicago has been crazy. It has been snowing all week. Then we get sun, and then it starts to snow, and then it's freezing cold. Just Chicago weather is for real. This stuff just cycles and cycles and cycles. There is nothing consistent about this, like my last 3 relationships. The weather here is no joke. Get your jackets on, stay warm, because flu season is coming around. Make sure you go to Walgreens and get your vaccines. Now to our final topic. The Rainforest Cafe is now turning into a weed dispensary. Yes, sir. You heard it first. The place that you used to take your children is now going to be the place that sells weed to your future children. They just zoned this place today, in November 20th. The zoning for this has been breaking news because no other weed dispensary has been put in 1,500 feet next to another one. So the legislation in Chicago had to change the laws just to make this exception for the Rainforest Cafe. And I think this is a great idea because if you look at the Rainforest Cafe, even before it was a weed dispensary, you would look at it and think, hey, someone designed this building when they were high. So I think it fits. The Rainforest Cafe and weed, they go together like 2 peas in a pod. We do not know when this building will be finished. The project has just started and they're still going through the building permits and other factors in legislation. That's all, folks, for the news. Thank you for tuning in to ABC News and have a great one. I'm your host, Adam Yonan, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.